Hi everyone, it's Cathy Zielske. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I've got a really fun graphic Christmas card featuring the rainbow. And you can use rainbows at Christmas, why not? They're bright, they're cheery, much like Christmas. But I really like how this card project turned out, so let's take a look at the products. Today I'm using stamps and dies from my favorite things, and this is a brand new set. It is called Merry Christmas Blend. So you've got these different layers that you're going to stamp and layer, and as soon as I saw it, I thought rainbow. There's also a coordinating die so you can cut out that sentiment, and I just love the chunky font design. There's also this cool background stamp, just a ton of hose. Thank you. It's so festive though. I've got all these ink cubes, and I'm going to pick my rainbow from my assortment of Gina K ink. For cardstock, I'm using Neenah Solar White Classic Crest, all in the 110-pound weight, and I've got some embossing ink and some white powder for my background stamp. First, I'm going to die cut the die out of some white cardstock, and I'm going to leave the die in place. I'm going to add a little bit of purple tape to the back to hold the die cuts in place because I just thought it would be easier to stamp this way. So it's all taped in there, it's not going anywhere, and I'm going to place it inside my stamp positioner. Got the bar magnet, very critical to hold it in place, and now I'll just line up the stamps over the die cut piece that's just sitting right in there. Now it's a little sticky, not going to lie. I would put the stamp down and then the paper would come up a little, but you just reposition it, stick it right back in the corner and go. Now to add my rainbow of color. So I'm going to list all the colors I'm using below. This is Innocent Pink. And I'm going to do a lot of masking, but can you spot problem number one? If you're masking and you use that paper, you got to take that paper off before you stamp it down. Now I lucked out and no ink transferred, but as I was hitting it a second time, what did I do a second time? Yeah, I forgot to take the mask off. I live and I learn. I did learn. After this, I didn't do it again. But cleaning off the stamp between each inking here, I've got the masks. Oh, yes, that's what you do, Cathy. You take them off. But what I did here was I made sure that I lined up all of my inks off to the right there in the order that I wanted them to appear, because this stamp is going to take, 3 of the colors, and then the second stamp that overlays is going to take the other 2. So get your inks laid out so that when it comes time to stamp the second stamp, your rainbow is good to go. Now there's the second stamp. I'm lining that up. And this one, because the letters are far enough apart and the cubes are small, I did not have to worry about masking. So I've got the pink there on the left and that red on the right, and I'm going to stamp it down. And I actually thought, once this was stamped, this would have been a cool color palette just to stick with, like repeat it for the Christmas below, because I think that looks really good. It's just really, really fun, warm color. Now I'll add the second stamp over the die cut, pick it up, and then the whole thing came with it, and I started to panic, but then I thought, Cathy, don't panic. You just place it all back in. If your die comes up while you're doing this, you just put it right back down in the opening. And so the process continued. I have my rainbow of ink laid out there to the right, and I'm just going to go through and stamp. And the nice thing is too, again with the Misty, if you stamp and something doesn't stamp the way you wanted it, you just re-stamp and it's all in the same place. Just make sure that if your paper moves when you lift up that stamp positioner door, that you reposition it, push it back in that corner, and you know you're going to be lined up and good to go. So the final stamp comes in with the remaining letters. And one thing you could do with this as well is you could do like a, where you kind of ink up your stamp and try to blend your inks together. There are a lot of ways that you could create this blend. I just thought it would be fun to isolate single colors. And in the end, I think it turned out pretty cute. But here's where the mistake happened. Well, one of several. When I stamped that blue down, I grabbed the wrong cube. And when it dried back, I realized I think that's the same color, and you'll see how I solve that. But I'm peeling off my purple tape, popping these lovely little die cuts out that are now stamped and full of color. And that's just a fun way to avoid headaches when it comes time to, if you've spent all this time stamping and then you screw up the die cutting. Well, I was a little off on that stamp at the bottom. So here's what I did. I did use the same ink on T and M, so I redid this one, and I also changed the yellow, because I thought that yellow at top, the sweet corn, was a little dull. Sometimes you got to do it. You got to do it. Next, let's use this background stamp. Now, if you don't have an oversized stamp positioner, no worries, you don't need one. I learned this from my friend Gina K. You can ink up your cling stamp, just, put it down on a surface. I just have it on my little mat that I work on. Lay your cardstock down, take another piece of cardstock, place that on top, and just massage it around, holding it in place so nothing moves. One hand is holding, one hand is pressing. And it's a great way to transfer the image onto your cardstock. Now when I sprinkle my powder on, the beautiful stamped ho, 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 a lot of hoes, it's going to show up just like that. So you don't need a positioner to do the background stamp. Isn't that cool? My heat tool is nice and hot, and I will just work my way across. It takes a little time. Got to heat it, get it shiny, and look at that fun tone on tone texture. It's very subtle. I'm going to cut out my panel using a die. This is part of a die set called A2 Layers Dies from Waffle Flower. I love that set. I'm going to score my card base. This is going to be a landscape design, A2, which is 5.5 wide by 4.25 tall. I always tape my card bases closed just because the cardstock is so heavy. I don't want it to pop up when I'm doing the next step, which is lining up my popped up panel right on the card base. And you can see that just nice. It's about 1/8 of an inch around the edge of the background card base showing through. I've got some thin foam squares on the back of the Christmas. I'm going to line that one up first using my T-square just to make sure that is straight. Oh, so cute. And then it makes lining the Mary up much easier. Finishing the card off just with some shiny silver sequins. I'm using my liquid adhesive and appropriately my little glue holder in the rainbow pattern. I think that turned out just really fun. You have to see it in the light to catch those ho ho ho's, but it's very festive, it's very bold and graphic, and I think this is a really fun stamp set. Thanks so much for watching today. I would love to have you become a subscriber to my channel if you're not. And be sure to hit that gray bell below the video so you don't miss any videos that I post.